Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. In this video, I'm going to talk about a few big pieces of DDO news that came out this week. I'm also going to talk about a few forum posts I've seen in the past few days that I found to be particularly interesting. Then I'm going to finish with a channel update. So the big piece of news that came out this week is that Paladins are announced to be receiving a nerf. They will be nerfed. However, it's not going to be a huge nerf or an excessive nerf. It's going to be a very minor nerf, and the nerf is going to be to the spell Holy Sword. The spell is going to lose its plus weapon damage, and its enhancement bonus is going to be dropped from, I believe it's +2 right now. It's going to be dropped down to +1. However, the most important and the biggest part of this ability, which is the competence bonus to critical range and critical multiplier, is not going to be touched. So you can breathe a sigh of relief if you're a paladin. This isn't an excessive nerf. It's a very minor nerf. It's not going to affect their DPS too much. And I'm fine with this nerf. If anything, it probably isn't enough. Paladins definitely are a bit overpowered right now, and they're definitely the best melee class right now. And devs have also stated that the Paladins are overperforming from where they want to be DPS-wise, and that's the reason for this nerf. But I see the problem more with other classes. It's not so much that Paladin DPS needs to be brought down, it's that the DPS of classes like Barbarian and Fighter needs to be raised. Paladins have great survivability that's far and beyond what other melee classes have. The only exception maybe being Monk, but Paladins have survivability that just can't be matched by other class abilities. Rather than nerf Paladin DPS, I like to see classes like Barbarians DPS and Fighters DPS brought up to better levels. The developers also mentioned that favored souls and druids are going to be addressed in the future, and specifically Druid Forms. They also mentioned that favored souls are going to be getting that third tree, and that got me to wondering. Right now, the favored souls have Angel of Vengeance, which is a casting tree, and they have War Priest, which they share with Cleric, which is a melee tree. I'm wondering if they're going to make another casting tree, or if they're going to give favored souls a heal bot tree. Personally, I tend to see favored souls more as offensive casters, and that's really the way they were designed. I'd like to see, instead of a heal bot tree, I'd like to see perhaps Angel of Vengeance made to focus on evocation, and perhaps the new tree could focus on necromancy. I think those are by far the most attractive spell schools for a favored soul. And I would like to see that as opposed to another heal bot tree, which if you want to be a healer, we already have clerics, we have druids, we have bards, we have a lot of options already. So I would like to see more offensive spellcasting variety, and I'm sure that that's what players would like to see rather than just another Radiant Servant type tree in the favored soul, as an option in the favored soul trees. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll give us more news in the future, in the near future. And Druid Forms definitely need to be addressed. They have some big problems. I know that tree builds in particular, if you don't know what a tree build is, that's builds that use the Avatar of Nature, Epic Destiny. Actually, it's called Primal Avatar, but that they use that Epic Destiny and they rely on tree form. And these forms can be a bit overpowered because once you find a way to keep your spirit up to really high levels to get a lot of spirit charging your tree form, your DPS can be a bit insane. Also, now I personally haven't run that, but from everything I've read and from tree builds I have run with, they've had awesome DPS. So I can't prove that that's the case, but I've heard from many people that tree builds are capable of doing insane DPS, so I'll believe them. Also, the DDO wiki states that there's a bug with Twitch fighting in tree form that adds to this high DPS. According to the DDO wiki, it's currently possible to negate the Avatars of Nature attack speed debuff by Twitch fighting. If you don't know what Twitch fighting is, it's basically instead of just sitting there with auto attack on, you move from left to right to keep your animation in its quickest form. You basically don't want to go past your second swing. And when you do that, you can get more hits in. But when you do that, you can get much higher DPS on a tree form, and it allows you to bypass the debuff which you get in tree form, which is a speed debuff. Okay, another big issue or a big announcement we have this week is about update 24. It was planned to come out Wednesday, December 10th. That's when Cordovan announced it initially. However, just today, he posted this on the forums. Unfortunately, an issue came up in the build we put together for tomorrow's planned deployment, so we're going to have to fix the issue and rebuild. This means that update 24 will not be released tomorrow, but we're still targeting this week. We'll have exact downtime and release date details when we are ready to announce it. Personally, I'm fine with this. While update 23 was largely bug-free, we've had some really bad buggy updates in the past, and I would much rather them take a couple extra weeks and work everything out than release a update that breaks the game. And if you listen to my last video, I talked about just how worried I was about this update because of the recent downtime we've had, the recent server crashes we've had. So it appears like they're having issues over at Turbine, and I hope they fix this update, make sure it's correct and right instead of rushing it out. I don't want a rushed update that breaks the game, that causes major lag and makes the game unplayable until we get a hot patch or hot fix. So devs, if you're listening to this, please take your time. A thread I saw today that I found to be a little bit interesting was a thread about Rangers, and a couple people were advocating for a Ranger buff. I don't agree. I think Rangers are fine right now. They're one of the few classes that are actually, I think, very balanced. Rangers, in my opinion, are about where other classes should be. Instead of buffing Rangers, I'd like to see other classes that are overpowered, like Paladin, like certain caster builds, brought down to the level of the Ranger. The only thing I would like to see change related to Rangers is Munchers, which I do think Munchers need a nerf. And I'm sorry if you like Munchers and you like playing them, but let's be honest, it makes absolutely no sense that a ranged build with a monk is by far a better DPS than a pure 20 arcane archer. It just makes no sense at all. Monks should not be better archers than rangers. Rangers, who are supposed to be the ranged class, and classically in D&D lore, are seen as the best ranged class. They do need to look at 10k stars, which is a monk feat that allows, basically works like many shot, and the feat many shot. Right now, Munchers can basically use both of those abilities simultaneously. Now, there is a 30-second cooldown, but they basically can use these abilities back to back, whereas Rangers can only use many shot. They do need to make some changes. I think they need to either make the two feats mutually exclusive so that a Muncher can't take both of them, or just have them share a full cooldown. Either way, I do think it's a bit ridiculous that monks are way better archers than an actual ranger. Also saw a discussion on the forums today about PRR and MRR. From my testing and from feedback that players have given on the forums, I think the developers might have buffed heavy armor a bit too much in the last update. Right now, there's not a whole lot of reason for anyone to use evasion, and I've seen a lot of builds like Rangers and Rogues that are running around in heavy armor just because it's that good, and there's really no reason to use evasion right now. One of the biggest problems with this is heavy armor. You get so many benefits just from putting on a plate, a piece of heavy armor. You don't have to make any investment, whereas evasion builds have to put tons into dex to get a reliable epic elite reflex save, and they have to get all the right gear so they can get max dodge. You really have to do a lot of gearing, a lot of building. You need tomes. You need a lot of stuff to really get your reflexes and your dodge up to great levels, whereas on a heavy armor build, you have to do none of that. You don't have to make any kind of stat investment, any kind of gear investment, aside from just equipping a full plate. And that's a bit of a problem. Perhaps one idea that came up is perhaps give light and cloth armor some inherent bonuses to dodge. That would help fight that disparity a bit. Or they could just raise the dodge cap a bit to whatever the developers feel is necessary. But something probably should be done. I do think heavy armor is a bit overpowered right now, and it hurts me to say that as someone who runs a heavy armor build, but they probably are, let's be honest. Another thread I thought was interesting was the developers actually admitted that there's a lag problem in Deathworm, the Temple of Deathworm raid. I don't remember them ever actually coming out and admitting that. But Severlin posted this on the forums today. He said, "We know that the Deathworm raid has lag. We're making some adjustments to the creatures in hopes that we see improvements, but we are hoping to avoid large-scale changes that would be required if we redesign the entire space." So basically, what we can get from that quote is they're looking into it, they're aware of it, but they're not sure how to fix it right now. But something has to be done. Often when I run that raid, I get lagged at the end, and most of the time, if I'm not running an epic norm, lag can kill that raid, kill the party very quickly. A lot of the times in epic normal you can survive it because it is normal and the mobs don't hit so hard. But if you're running that thing on epic elite and you get any bit of lag, you're dead. There are a few things you can do, and the developer in this particular thread even pointed it out. If you're having lag problems in that raid or in the game in general, well, this might not help in that raid because that raid has lag problems. But if you're having lag in the game in general, go to your graphic settings and drop down to DirectX 9. You might be running in DirectX 10. I know personally, when I dropped down to DirectX 9, I saw big lag improvements. And this is going to be especially helpful if you're running on an older computer. Now, if you're running on an awesome gaming computer with like 16 gigs of RAM, you're probably fine running on I guarantee you're fine running on the highest settings. But if you're like me and you're running on something less powerful, try tweaking your graphics settings if you haven't already. That's about all I have to talk about as far as game news and forum topics. So I'll now get on to a channel update. And if you've been watching my channel, you can see you've seen a few of the things I've been working on. I've been working on a new player guide. I've made 2 videos already, which weren't too difficult to make, but I'm working on a third, part 3, which is going to be the last part in the video series, and it's a lot more difficult. It's taking a lot more work than the first 2 parts did. Basically, with the third part, I'm trying to make a comprehensive guide that shows beginners everything I wish I would have known when I started, and it's going to be a lot of crunchy stuff. Well, I wouldn't call it crunchy stuff, more like boring stuff that you need to know for the game but may not be particularly interesting to watch. Stuff like how to navigate through the menus, how to find quests, how to work out your key mapping, how to use hotbars, stuff like that. Just stuff that's very basic for players like me who have been playing the game for a long time, but stuff that new players often don't understand and need to learn how to do to advance in the game. And these are things that are not taught in game, that tutorials really don't teach new players, stuff that generally you've had to figure out on your own, and personally I know I had to figure out on my own. So I'm hoping that a guide like this will help some new players actually come and stick around. And that's one of the reasons, that is the main reason why I'm making the guide. I'm hoping that it will help out some new players and help them to actually stick around. We need new players to keep DDO alive. Without a stream of new players, the game's going to die. So I'm hoping that this guide might actually get a few to stick around whereas they wouldn't before. So if this guide can just help a few players, I'd be extremely happy. So let's talk about my character a little bit. My character is almost back to level 20. And after I do some experimenting with my enhancements, I'm going to put out a long video and a long forum post about my build. It's going to detail exactly how I'm geared, what feats I took, everything involved with the build, and also strategies for playing the build. So you can be watching out for that. I don't know when I'll have it up, probably in the next couple weeks. And I'm definitely going to make a long forum post on the Cleric forums on DDO.com. So I'll have the build detailed in video here on my channel and also in text form on the forums. Been doing a few things different with my recent videos. I've been using non-live gameplay, as you can see right here. This is a recent run through the Druid's Deep Chain that I did this past week, but it's not live, so I'm not playing the game right now. And I found that's better for when I talk. It's really hard to record live gameplay at the same time as I'm making a video on a news story or a discussion topic. So I'm finding that not having to deal with the live gameplay is helping me to give better quality to my videos. Also, I've muted the sound. I just want you guys to be able to hear me better, so I've muted the in-game sound on these videos. If you have a problem with that, let me know, but I'm planning to only mute the sound on my news videos and discussion videos. Definitely not going to mute the sound when it comes to Epic Elite solos. And on that note, I have stopped recording Elite solos. I started with a few weeks ago recording a few Elite solos, but overall I feel like the Elite solos are kind of fluff videos. And like I've said before on other videos, I want this channel to be my own DDO talk show in a sense. I want that to be the main focus of the channel. So I don't want a lot of Elite solo videos to be fluffing up the channel. Now, I'm still going to do Epic Elite solo videos because I think those are a lot more interesting to a lot more people, and I personally love filming them, so I'm definitely going to be putting out those videos. But as far as heroic gameplay, after experimenting with it, I just didn't find that the videos were that interesting. But if you want to see more of that, maybe I'll bring it back, possibly. I do have my main character is almost up to epics again, but I do have some other characters which I might run and show some heroic content. As far as people watching the channel, I'm up to 25 subscribers, which is awesome. I don't really care about the number of subscribers. Now I'm going to do this channel. I'm going to be running this channel no matter how many people are watching, but I do put a fair amount of work into the channel, so I want people to actually watch. And for you all that are watching, I really appreciate it. A few other things I've done, I've added an ending splash screen to my videos, which this will be the first video with the splash screen, so hopefully that helps get the word out a bit. I don't spam the forums, I don't want to spam the forums, so I don't advertise my channel much on the forums. I do have it in my signature, and I do mention it from time to time, but I don't want to spam people. So hopefully that splash screen on my videos will help a few more people subscribe and check out my future videos. Like I said, guys, I don't care so much as to how many people are watching, but at the same time, I do put a decent amount of work into these videos, so I do want people to watch. One other cool thing that happened this week is the developers watched my video on the War Priest tree, and they thanked me for it, and they gave me some feedback, and even Cordovan subscribed to my channel, which I thought was really cool. So if you're listening to this, I appreciate you doing that, and I hope you can check out my future videos. They'll definitely have more feedback, both positive and critical, in the future. Also, I've divided my channel up into 3 playlists. Hopefully that makes it easier for people to watch videos that they're interested in. I divided them into discussion videos, news, and elite solos. And my plan, as it's always been, is to do 2 videos a week. There's no promises. I don't want to promise that, but that's always my goal. So if I don't meet it one week, don't wonder if I've abandoned the channel or anything. But 2 videos a week is more or less my goal, and I've actually been averaging more than that. My channel's been out not quite 3 months, about 2 months and 3 weeks now, and this is my 29th video, so I've actually been averaging more than 3 videos per week, just because I've been enjoying making them that much. So guys, let me know if you have any other inputs, if there's anything you want to see on the channel, any videos you want to see made by me, any topics you want to hear me discuss, anything like that. See you all next video, and take care. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and tell your DDO friends and guildies about my channel. Thanks for watching.